Welcome back to my channel. It's Angel, the PsychNP. So guys, a lot of you who have been following me, you know I work at a testing site. I'm a mental health nurse practitioner, as well as I'm a travel RN as well. Currently working as the incident commander or the nurse lead at a testing site. So I have COVID now. I'm kind of just going to walk you through a little bit how I got to testing positive for COVID. So today is Sunday. On last week Thursday, well actually last week Wednesday, I started feeling like driving to work, I started feeling real like lethargic. And then I said to myself, well, maybe I'm doing like this intermittent fasting, because I had started intermittent fasting, and I was like, maybe I'm not eating enough calories, because I do HIIT training 4 days a week in the gym. So I'm like, maybe I'm not getting enough calories or something like that. But then I was like, well, the gym is not new for me, but the intermittent fasting is new. So maybe that's what it is. Thursday, on my way to work, I'm driving to work, got a full night's rest, but I'm like feeling like I'm about to fall asleep driving to work. So I'm like, something is not right. So I said, well, you know, let me take a COVID test. So I took the rapid antigens test and I took a PCR test. The rapid antigen test, you get the results back in 15 minutes, but if you test positive for the rapid test, you need to actually take the PCR test as well to confirm that positive on the rapid test. The rapid test tests for the antigens of the virus, not the actual virus, which the PCR does. The rapid test I took, I got the results back, it was negative. So I got the PCR, but that takes 2 to 3 days to come back. So by Thursday night, by the time I got home, I wasn't feeling well. I was having little chills. I was having chills. I didn't have a full blown out fever, maybe a low grade fever, but I was having chills. And then when I woke up Friday morning, my body was aching. Like I could walk, but my body was aching. I felt like every step that I was making, and it was just generalized all over my body. So I took another rapid test, and it was negative as well. So I decided to stay home and wait for the results on the PCR. By Saturday, when I woke up, I was feeling fine again. Like I had small body aches, but it wasn't all over. I was able to walk. I was able to, I was able to walk Friday too, but I just felt the body pain all over. But Saturday, I was able to walk without feeling that body pain all over. I didn't have the chills anymore. I wasn't congested. I did have a slight headache on Saturday. So because I had those symptoms, I actually took another rapid test and it was negative again. So I decided, okay, well, I'm going to go back to work on Sunday. I went to work, but I didn't have any real interaction with people. I kind of just like stayed to the side, did my work without having interaction with people, because I told the staff, I was like, hey, I don't want to be close to anybody. I want to kind of wait till I get my results back from the test. I got the results back that Sunday night by the time I got off of work, and it was negative. So I go back to work, I get up Monday, I go to work again Monday, I wake up Tuesday, and then I'm brushing my teeth, and I'm like, you know how you could taste like, you feel, I should say, the mintiness on your teeth, on your tongue, but you don't really taste it. So I'm like, uh-oh, something's not right, because I don't really taste this toothpaste. I feel the sensation on my tongue, but I don't really taste it. So I get the air freshener and I'm spraying it. I get my Tom Ford perfume, because I know I should be able to smell that. I don't smell nothing. Like, I done sprayed all this stuff all over my room. I can't smell anything. I'm like, uh-oh, you got COVID. So I go back to the testing site. I only go now to take another PCR test. And I take the PCR test, but I go and I take the one there's another site that's like really close to mine. It's an oral PCR. So I take ours at our site, which is nasopharyngeal, and then I take the one at the other site, which is oral. That one comes back within a 24-hour time frame. I go take both tests and I go home. I, let the job know what's going on. Like, hey, I think I got COVID. Y'all got to hold the fort down until I figure out what's going on. Because mind you, I started having my symptoms on Thursday, but my PCR, my COVID results came back negative. But then I wake up Tuesday morning, I can't taste or smell anything. So I go home and I set myself up at home to quarantine. And I put a table in front of my door. I tell my mom and my daughter, like, hey, I'm going to, start quarantining until I figure out what's going on with me with the virus. The next day, I got the result back from the drive-through site because they have a quicker turnaround than we do. And it, lo and behold, it was positive. I had COVID. So I already kind of felt like I had it when I woke up and my taste and my smell was gone. Because now when I had the body aches, I wasn't 100% sure that I had COVID because since the pandemic has happened, everybody kind of act like there are no other viruses in the world right now. Like I could have just had a cold. I could have had a flu. The flu gives you majority of the same symptoms that COVID gives you. So I could have had any other like upper respiratory, virus, or I could have had the flu. I could have had, anything. So, but we like to, obviously because we're in the pandemic, we think COVID. But then, so I was like, I was a little optimistic when my results came back negative the first time. But when I woke up and didn't have the taste and the smell, I'm like, sis, you got COVID. So actually feeling like I have COVID in a sense of just like because I'm having symptoms of something versus the confirmation of having COVID was two different things. Because when I got that result back and it actually was positive, I had to sit down for a moment and try to get the anxiety under control, because there's no way really that you know that I got, like, from a lot of my videos, I actively have friends working in the hospital, and we talk all the time about the stories in the hospital. And that on your psyche, when you now have that virus, the anxiety levels is going up. And I was trying to keep that under control because I was like, this could go either way. You can get sicker. And I have to admit, like, there was no time where I really felt like, oh, I need to go to the hospital. My symptoms weren't that bad at any point through this virus. Today, I am on, if I start from the time I started having symptoms, I'm on day 9. But from the time that I got a positive result, I am on day 5, I believe. Yeah, 5. But in that moment of just getting that positive result, your mind starts going on like, oh my goodness. So I was starting to get a little worried, but then I pulled it back together. I was like, listen, you've had symptoms from this day. Like, if you were going to get worse or anything, you will be in that phase like right now of getting worse. And I am not, I'm not still out the woods. I feel good. I still don't have a taste or a smell. It's very faint. Like, I'm drinking my ginger tea with honey, and it has cayenne pepper in it and some other stuff. One of my coworkers made it for me. But I'm drinking my stuff, but I don't take for granted that this virus is a deadly virus and that it could go left real quickly. I have a little routine. So I get up every morning, and this routine is kind of my routine on a regular basis, not just for COVID. Just because you work in a hospital, we have so much exposure to all kind of stuff. And sometimes when you working in a hospital, you go into these patients' room and you doing all this stuff, and then they come back and they got all these, viruses that you later find out that they had that was either droplet precaution or contact precaution. And you like, now I done been in here all this time doing this and doing that. Now 3 days later, you got this and you got that. So I take a lot of stuff, natural stuff, prophylactically anyway, because I'm a nurse. So, but now I kind of do everything, like I'm doubling up on everything. So my routine is in the morning, I get up, I take a tablespoon of sea moss. So then at noon, I eat something, and then I start taking, I have my vitamin C here, and I've been taking since before COVID. I take between 500 and 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C. Now I'm taking 2,000 milligrams since I actually have the virus live in me right now. I take zinc. I take oil of oregano, and I go sit. I have a pool out back in the back of my house. I go sit out back in the pool because the sun will give you the best vitamin D that you can get. We live in Florida here. We have no lack of sun here. Even when it's supposed to be cold, we have no lack of sun here. So I go out and sit on the back of my porch and I get some vitamin D in. It's kind of my routine daily, just flushing with water. I've been staying away from like dairy doing this, and I really don't eat dairy anyway. I've been staying away from sugars because based on what my friends are telling me in the hospital, a lot of patients who go really to the left with this virus are diabetic patients, because the insulin just gets whacked out of control. So I'm like, you know what? I'm already, you know, when I eat carbs, bread and rice, that turns into sugar. So I let that be my sugar intake for the day. It's like I still do my honey for my tea. I still eat fruits, but just like not white sugars and stuff like that, because I don't want my insulin fluctuating too bad, you know, because I don't know, nobody really knows what this virus is doing in the body. So we all kind of just put our own stuff together, you know. So for me, while I'm actually having the virus, like this is what I'm doing to keep myself good. Like on the hour, I'll put my arms up and then I'll hold my breath for 20 seconds, and then I'll do like a pursed breathing and let it out. I'm doing stretching and stuff in my room to keep active, because we do know that this virus, also, yeah, I take my turmeric. And then what made me just remember the turmeric is because turmeric is the blood thinner. So we know that they had talked about this virus causing clots in people or whatever. So I do little stuff in the room to stay active, and I take the turmeric because it's a natural blood thinner. For those of you who don't know that, if you having a surgery or something and you're one of those healthy people that take turmeric all the time, you should stop taking your turmeric 2 weeks prior to your surgery. Just a little FYI, nurses, you know, we always trying to educate. So I have COVID. Depending on what, you know, the symptoms started, like I said, or when I actually tested positive, I am currently on quarantine until, I guess, 14 days. I feel fine. I'm still doing all my stuff, like I said. Prayerfully, everything goes, you know, I stay feeling good and stay feeling fine. One thing that my prayers are is that I kind of follow and study up on this disease. And the 9/11 clinic that was in New York, for the firefighters, or, you know, the people in New York who suffered all that lung inhalation problems, they have actually turned that clinic into like a post-COVID treatment center. And what that is that people who had mild symptoms, or who had no symptoms at all, or were asymptomatic, you know, with COVID, they are now coming in to the hospital saying that they have problems with breathing, they having muscular problems, all kind of different problems that the doctors can't figure out. And I watched this little documentary on YouTube on 60 Minutes of one of the actual doctors who had COVID in New York. She's actually experiencing the stuff too, because at first when these patients were going in, the doctors were telling them, oh, you just have anxiety, you're worried about it. But it's like, no, it's real. People are like, who were asymptomatic at first, or who had mild symptoms, they're coming in now saying that they're having post-COVID complications. The doctors don't know why people are now having problems, you know, post-COVID complications, who weren't originally hospitalized or anything with the virus initially. So this virus is very tricky. There are different strands, because I equally know people who've had COVID when we first started this thing, and they have no symptoms. They have no problems with the virus at all. So everybody's experience with the virus is different, and I think it has something to do with the strand that you get. So prayerfully, I don't have any long-term effects from this, and that is my prayer daily, you know, that I don't have any short-term, long-term, or, you know, that I just remain feeling good and okay with this virus. Also, they're talking about people who came in, who were never hospitalized. Their lungs look worse than people who have smoked like all their lives. And they never had any problems. They never were admitted. But anyway, thank you for listening. I am okay. I will be okay. I will give you a follow-up when I get a negative test on, you know, just my whole experience, if something changed from this video to the next video. Thank you for watching Angel the PsychnP.